So we're going to start drawing Mario. And in class, I had mentioned that we were going to put a blank piece of paper on top and draw on top of that so you didn't have all these boxes. But I've changed my mind because it helps if we draw some more lines as we're doing some of this. So I think we will draw Mario on the boxes. And when we finish, we can just trace your drawing onto a clean sheet of paper because you've done all the work of drawing it. So I have no problem with you tracing it to have that on there. So we're going to start by drawing his nose because it's not the center of his face, but it's a central point in his face where a lot of key things line up because it's not right in the center of his hat and face, his eyes are. But we're going to use this to kind of build off of. So what I want to do is just very carefully line up the right side and just draw some lines going straight up and down on the left side, on the right side, the bottom, and the top of his nose. Now, do your best to keep them parallel so it's not slanting too much, so that way when you look at the left and right, there's not too much difference. And it looks like I may have got off a little bit on those, but we can talk about that in a second. So what I'm noticing, the bottom of his nose lines up almost between 1/4 and this mark, maybe a little bit above that. So we're going to go to our drawing. We have 1/4, the mark below it. Here's the halfway point, maybe a little bit above it. And I'm just going to try to estimate and go straight across. So now the bottom of his nose is going to line up in that area, somewhere across through there. The top of his nose looks like it's between 1/2 and the mark below it. So here's 1/2, the mark below that, and it's going to be right about there, going straight across, and the top of his nose will be in that area. The left side of his nose, let's see, we're going to say, I'm going to go ahead and say it's a little bit to the left of this mark. So we have half, we have the mark between 1/4 and 1/2, which is 3/8, and it's just a little bit to the left of that. So here is our halfway mark. Here is 3/8. So it's a little bit to the left of that for this side. So if we go for the right side, here's half, here is 5/8, and it's a little bit to the right of that. So this will give us the left side of his nose, and this will give us the right side of his nose. So looking at the shape of this box and looking at the shape of this box, it looks a little bit too narrow. So it's always best to go with your gut instinct if something looks wrong, because it's very easy when you're doing this to make a mark a little bit too far off or a small mistake. So I'm just going to double check and look at how wide this is using the ruler. And it should be just barely a little less than 5/16 from left to right. So if I look at mine using the ruler that says drawing, I can see mine is quite a bit less than 5/16. So I would like to make it a little bit fatter so that it actually lines up more with being a rectangle. This looks a little bit too much like a square. So I'm just going to correct that. Yours may look okay. So if yours is fine, you don't have to do this. I just noticed that, and I thought it would help if you see how I think about things where I've made a mistake or something just doesn't look correct. So this will be the left side. This will be the right side. And while I'm at it, I'll just double check how tall it is. So the distance from top to bottom is about 1/4, maybe a little bit less. And the distance for this going from top to bottom is about 1/4. So that seems to be correct. Now we want to draw the shape of his nose. So I can safely assume, knowing this is pretty much symmetrical, that the highest part of his nose is right in the center, lining up with the halfway mark. So I know that the bottom of his nose will touch about there on the box. The top of his nose will touch about there. Now, I'm also noticing now that I do that, it looks like it's sticking too far to the right. So once again, I'm just thinking about the size relationship, and this side looks a little bit too big. So what I've probably done, it was a bit short, but this side was probably correct. So I'm just going to fix that and bring the left side out a little bit, and then bring the right side in just a small amount, just so that it looks more centered in relation to the whole face. Now, like I said, yours might not have this problem, but I think it's helpful for you to see how I problem solve when something doesn't look correct. So we can assume that the center of his nose on the left is right in the middle of that. And this was, I believe, a fourth. So half of a fourth would be an eighth on the right side. Half of a fourth would be an eighth on the other side. So this is the top, bottom, right, and left. Now, his nose is bubbly, for a lack of better words. It's very rounded. So some people tend to curve a little bit and then almost draw a straight line when they're trying to connect four dots to make an oval. To help you prevent that from happening, we're going to add a little bit of a curve on each side. So I'm left-handed, and if I move my wrist naturally moves in a curve this way. If I try to do this on the left side, I have to move my whole arm and elbow and shoulder to try to make a curve, and that feels less natural. So if you're left-handed, you're going to make curves this way. If you're right-handed, you're going to make curves that way. So I'm going to add just a curve that's really flat and stays close to the edge here on the right. Then I'll rotate my paper, do a flat kind of long curve that runs along the top. Rotate my paper, do a flat long curve that runs along the right side, left side, and then a flat long curve that runs along the bottom. So once I've done that, I can still kind of rotate this so my hand is curving naturally. And I want to keep this curving so it doesn't go straight, and just bring this over and connect to try to make it as round as possible. Same thing on this side. And you're probably never, I'm not going to say never, but not easily be able to make a perfect oval free-handed. So this is not going to be perfectly symmetrical. So don't stress too much if it seems a little bit off. But as long as you're close, don't stress about it. So that should give us the basic size and shape of his nose.